Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll have a look at the latest from the live radar. Then we'll have a look at the weather warnings, as we do have some yellow rain warnings in force, and then we'll have a look at the longer term outlook with the GFS, the GM, the ECMWF and the GFS Ensembles. Finish up with the UKMO Run as well. It is looking like we're going to be seeing some pretty chilly weather through the first week or two of November. It's definitely going to be in a cold start with a good 5 degrees below average, so very interesting seeing that at the start of November as we head in to the period where we could start to see the potential for some significant cold weather. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and do remember to follow on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if we do have a look at the live radar at the moment, you can see we have heavy rain spreading into many western areas, mainly impacting western Scotland and then parts of western Northern Ireland and western Republic of Ireland as well. It will be spreading in this conveyor belt of moisture. We're bringing very heavy rain for many parts of Scotland, Northern England, and generally many western areas over the coming days. And we have 3 warnings in force. So we do have a look at these warnings. First warning is tomorrow across southern Scotland and northwest England from 6 a.m. to midnight. And the southern Scotland one is until 6 a.m. on Thursday. So still very long warnings. And then on Friday we do have another yellow warning across again that similar area across northwest England, and then we have a yellow warning across Wales as well. Now again, I've been through the one across Northern England, but I'll go through this one briefly here. For Wales, 40-60 millimetres expected, but potentially 100 to 120 millimetres, or maybe as much as 160 millimetres over Snowdonia. Again, high likelihood, low impact. It's just this conveyor belt of moisture which is bringing in this heavy rain. So if we do go through the GFS, see what we're going to be seeing over the next few days and the next few weeks in general, you can see at the moment southwesterly winds, that conveyor belt of moisture with low pressure involved, is going to be bringing us some very wet conditions in the west. All areas will be seeing rain at times over the few days, just mainly in the west is going to be seeing the bulk of that rain. Eventually, though, as we head into the first few days of November, we get northerly winds. We get a much colder air mass start to push in. Potentially the -5 line moving through in Scotland, not getting quite far as England, but we remain on the cold side of the jet stream. So we mainly remain in this polar maritime air mass. Towards sort of 300 hours, we do start to pull in southwesterly winds once again, and right towards the end of the run, we see a Scandinavian high building and the potential for easterly winds. Very interesting scenario here, showing easterly winds for the second week of November. Now, that cold pull is significant enough to be bringing snow to even low-lying areas if we did get this -10 line in. Again, we'd have to see it evolve over the days after this, but it's looking very cold, this latest GFS run. So very interesting seeing what's happening with that. We'll see how it compares to the other models now. So we do have a look at the GM. You can see over the next few days a lot of southwesterly winds and a lot of unsettled conditions. First few days of November, we pull in a northerly airflow, quite a significant northerly airflow, with that -5 line spreading through many areas, and right towards 240 hours, we remain on the cold side of the jet stream with this northwest-southeast alignment. No massive heights rising to our north, so it doesn't look like at this stage it'd go to something what we saw in the GFS. But again, that GFS run on another sort of 5 days, so we could be seeing something similar in the longer term. But again, that GFS is just a snapshot of one potential scenario with bitterly cold easterly winds for this time of year. But I do suspect this sort of northwest-southeast alignment of the jet stream is generally colder than average conditions. It's the most likely scenario. Still could be chilly for many areas, still could produce frosts, and the potential for snow at times, especially over the mountains and the hills further northwards. If we have a look at the ECMWF, now it hasn't fully updated, but we've got out to 216 hours. As you can see, we've got bringing southwesterly winds at the moment, and then we get northerly winds for the first few days of November. Pretty chilly, and again, we see this northwest-southeast alignment of the jet stream, followed by the isobars going up from Greenland, heading down towards southern parts of Europe. And in this scenario, we would be bringing in colder air once again. And you can see generally most of northern and western Europe is colder than average. Not significantly colder than average, but colder than average nonetheless. looking pretty chilly indeed with that. If we do go back to the GFS briefly, just have a look at what that will be showing for the temperature deviation. You can see a very cold pool of air just to our east, and if we did start to pull in those real raw easterly winds, it would be going very, very cold for this time of year, 10 to 12 degrees below average. Now, if we do have a look at the GFS Ensembles, you can see it's well reflected over the coming days. Quite a warm air mass as we've got the southwesterly winds. But for London in the southeast, we remain on the warmer or on the drier side, nearer to the higher pressure. You can see in the longer term, generally, it's a downward trend. A few upticks here and there as low pressure moves through, and some heavy precipitation over this weekend and potentially for the start of next week, but generally colder than average from the 1st of November, and quite significantly colder than average on some of these ensemble runs, good 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees below average. Longer term, a lot more scatter, but some are going quite cold, similar to what that GFS Operational Run. So we'll have to really keep an eye on what happens with that as we go over the next few weeks. Now, if we have a look at Glasgow, to see what sort of scenarios we could be seeing further northwards, you can see again quite similar, very cold for the first sort of week of November. You can see at the moment warmer than average with a lot of precipitation around, which is expected considering the synoptic charts we are seeing, and again a slow downward trend from around 5, 6, 7 degrees at 850 HPA down to -4, -5 potentially, holding there, potentially rising briefly towards the end of the run, but that's got a lot of scatter involved with that. Most are remaining really quite cold for the first week of November, and you couldn't rule out the potential for seeing some winteriness even to lower lying areas across Scotland. We do get that much colder air mass through, and if we did see an easterly wind like that GFS run does go for, we could be going really quite bitterly cold for the middle of November. But again, that is one outlook out of 30 ensemble members, so at this stage it is highly unlikely, but it's just interesting seeing that coming from an operational run in the last week of October for the first few weeks of November. Very interesting seeing that. If we finally do have a look at the UKMO office run, have a look at precipitation and temperature, you can see the heavy rain pushing in for the west and the north at the moment. That's going to continue with this conveyor belt of moisture into northern and southern parts of Scotland, and that's just going to continue. You can see just basically almost a static sort of line of rain, and then through Thursday into Friday, we see that push into Wales as well, and that's why we got that yellow warning there as well. Eventually, rain pushes through all areas as the centre of low moves through. So pretty much all areas going to see some rain, if not heavy rain at times, and showery in the south as well through Friday. Saturday looks like another sort of deluge is moving through in the morning. So luckily by midday, many parts of England and Wales are much drier, but further north, across northern England and Scotland, a lot of heavy rain through Saturday. Saturday evening looks reasonably dry before more rain is heading in through Sunday afternoon. Very heavy in the south and the southeast for Halloween, not looking particularly great. But behind that, it should clear. So maybe in southern parts of England and maybe parts of Ireland, there will be showers around, but it may be a bit drier if you're going out trick-or-treating. If we do have a look at the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon it was reasonably mild, 16, 17 degrees. Tomorrow, temperatures are going to be rising to maybe 16, 17 degrees once again, maybe 18 degrees in a few spots, cooler further northwards. By Thursday, we're going to be seeing temperatures again rise to maybe 16, 17 degrees, but much cooler where we have the heavier rain. By Friday afternoon, again 13, 14, 15 degrees. And Saturday, a colder air mass starts to push through, only 12, 13 degrees, but again, depends on the cloud and the rain amounts. And by Sunday, still reasonably chilly, 10, 11 degrees. We are getting to this time of year where if we don't see those warm air masses from the south, even if we just see a generally milder westerly wind, it's going to start to feel cold, especially off the back of summer where we're sort of used to it being 15, 20 degrees every single day. It's going to be, even though sort of 10, 11 degrees doesn't sound cold on paper and on these charts, in reality it's going to feel cold coming off the back of summer. So it does look like we're going to be going much chillier for the first week of November. A lot of rain to deal with up until then, so do keep an eye out for weather warnings, my video updates of course, and any environmental agency flood warnings as well, as I do suspect there could be some issues in a few areas. But beyond that, into the first week of November, it is looking much, much colder. We have to keep an eye really on what happens with this as we head through November into early December. Now, if you have been paying attention to my winter updates, I have been saying that the potential is there for early season winteriness. So we'll have to keep an eye really on what happens with that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.